Tawana Brawley is a 16-year-old girl whose story is the talk of New York these days.
The New York State teenager who claims that she was abducted and raped by 6 white men.
In the late 1980s, Tawana Brawley became a household name as her horrific story spread across the nation.
She had KKK written across her chest and nigger across her stomach,
Leading to widespread outrage.
We're going to expose the facts in these crimes that you do against black people.
And intense soul-searching about race in America.
Let Miss Brawley represent what we're not going to stand for as parents, as Americans, and as human beings.
But how did investigators discover the truth behind the Brawley rape, and what is its legacy today?
I think that the lessons of Brawley is very instructive for me and others.
I bet it is very instructive for you and others. Al Sharpton, your race baiter. Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. So today I wanted to do a retro report. I know this is old, but it still serves purpose in today's society when we are quick to rush to judgment. And I just wanted to bring this up, and because particularly it concerns Al Sharpton, because he likes to get involved in these sorts of things. He's been doing this for a very long time. I mean, at least I'm guessing since the 80s. I mean, according to this. And you all, please remember to give me your thoughts on this particular video. I like to give educational videos on my channel, not just the breaking news and what's political and what's going on right now, but a lot of times we can learn from our history. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. On my way to 40,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for helping me. Also, remember to visit childlightcandles.com, a Christian veteran-owned company where 25% of their profits go to veterans and their families. Don't forget to put the discount code LindaB in the discount field.
But I think that people want to cut off the lessons where they want.
In November 1987, a news story from a small town 70 miles north of New York City shocked the nation.
Special segment tonight, the Tawana Brawley case.
She was found wrapped in a plastic bag, by some accounts, sexually assaulted.
The 16-year-old cheerleader said she'd been abducted 4 days earlier and had been repeatedly raped and sodomized.
She was found in a fairly frightening state. She had a pair of sneakers which had been cut with a razor. Her hair seemed matted and covered with feces. There was writing on her chest. The jeans that she had were burnt in the crotch. It was like this is not a normal state to find someone.
More unsettling was the claim Brawley made on national television about one of her attackers.
Was a cop? He was a police officer?
Brawley attracted a team of activists to her side. The Reverend Al Sharpton, C. Vernon Mason, and Alton Maddox were well known in the press, having recently focused attention on another racially charged case, the killing of a black youth who was fleeing a white mob in Howard Beach, Queens.
New York State is now the capital of racial violence.
In the Brawley case, they saw the makings of a cover-up and demanded a special prosecutor take over.
I was a spokesman for the legal team and the family of Miss Brawley. I was involved to help bring light on the fact that there was a situation here that needed to be adjudicated. We are not going to let this girl be the scapegoat of a corrupt system. We want to show the world how low down, dongus, and callous the state of New York is.
Oh, Lord, Al Sharpton been in the fray a long time. Look at the hair, you guys. And he looks completely different. This is quite a while ago. And I don't want to pick on Reverend Al. I don't want to pick on Reverend. Are you really a Reverend? But this case sparked a lot of outrage. And I just hate that things get racially charged, because I want people to know that sometimes things happen. Well, this thing, they had the racial epitaphs on her body and KKK, I think, or something like that on there. And I'm like, y'all in New York, KKK all the way up there, and but they can be anywhere. because you can travel. You don't have to stay in certain parts of the country thinking a certain way. But whoever did this deserved to be punished. And now what I found out was very interesting around what really happened. What really happened. A lot of times what we find in the news is not what really happened. It's propaganda. It's pushing a certain narrative. It's meant to have people at each other's throats. People should just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. Don't say what didn't happen and cause all this chaos. And then you come out way after the fact, after a whole bunch of other chaos came out because of your lies. And I hate this happened to her, because no matter who did it, they were wrong. They were dead wrong for doing that to her. And I hate that she had to go through that. She probably has to emotionally relive it even to this day.
Brawley's advisors declared they had a suspect, a young police officer named Harry Chris Jr., who had committed suicide days after her attack.
The media now has released that Tawana identified Chris.
What's the evidence?
Tawana's voice on the tape identifying Chris.
With protesters taking to the streets, the state attorney general dispatched veteran investigator John Ryan to upstate New York, with orders to solve the increasingly sensitive case.
We attempted immediately to sit down with Tawana and her family, and we reached out repeatedly to her attorneys, her advisors, and that was never fruitful.
Her lawyers, it was their decision, along with her family, which I announced, that they did not want to cooperate because they did not trust the special prosecutor that was appointed by the governor.
We might send them a letter, and then, they'd have a press conference.
They're at a press conference, and all of a sudden, Alton Maddox pops out with this guy's name.
Her lawyers charged that Dutchess County Assistant District Attorney Stephen Pagonis was among the girl's attackers and demanded his arrest.
We have the facts and the evidence that an assistant district attorney and a state trooper did this. She made statements to the lawyer. She never made statements to me. I did not ask a 15-year-old girl what happened. I believe the lawyers believed their client, and I believe that we had an obligation to go forward.
Without Brawley's cooperation, Ryan tried to divine some clues from the initial police investigation.
In the course of the interview with the police, she literally only said one word. She would also indicate, I believe by eye blinks, they would ask her a question and she would indicate yes or no. The police officer took what they could get. She was found in a grassy area behind the building that her family had previously lived in, very near the apartment that was then vacant but unlocked. She had literally just come off being grounded because she got home at 5 a.m. from some party. She goes to visit a boyfriend in jail, and then she eventually takes the bus home, and that's the last time anybody saw her officially during those 4 days.
From his headquarters at the State Armory in Poughkeepsie, Ryan and his team struggled to make sense of a case that seemed to grow more complicated every day.
We were an investigation under siege.
We closed the bridge, the court, and this building, and Main Street.
The press had its agenda, no offense. The advisors had their agenda, no offense. Quite frankly, we had to view it as those of us in the Armory against the rest of the world.
There were scores of false leads. An acquaintance said he was with Brawley. He wasn't. A man claimed to have secret tapes that cast doubt on the veracity of Brawley's advisors. He didn't.
We started a rumor about a 9-fingered man, just to see how long it would take for a press report, to call us and start to ask about the 9-fingered man. I think it took 2 days.
But such moments of levity were brief.
A trooper starts up the steps of the Armory, and these demonstrators decided they weren't going to let him in. He grabbed the demonstrator that was fighting him. Next thing we knew, Reverend Sharpton was accusing me of kicking a blind man. That bothered me.
Al Sharpton, way back then, you accused that man of kicking a blind man, and that officer was attacked first. Now, my eyes don't deceive me. And then he fights back, and then Al Sharpton going to show a picture. And of course it bothered you. No one wants to be falsely accused. Al Sharpton, you are. And you still haven't repented. You still doing the same thing. Shame on you. That's disgraceful.
You realize how a lie can spread.
Her advisors have said a lot the past few months, charging that white local officials were involved in the crime, not to mention the mafia, the Ku Klux Klan, and the Irish Republican Army.
Sharpton called Cuomo a racist, compared Abrams to Hitler, and said Brawley would go to jail rather than cooperate with the investigators.
Maddox would actually say that the Attorney General of the state of New York was masturbating over pictures of 15-year-old Tawana Brawley.
They looked out for this. All these things are horrible, guys. I know this is a lot. This is a lot. But at the same time, we need to learn from our mistakes. Because you may say, Linda B., why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Because we need to learn from our mistakes. We need to learn not to do things like this. We need to know to hold the right people accountable. We do not need to try to stir up racial divisions. And Al Sharpton, I'm even more disgusted with you, even though this is decades old, because you're still doing the same thing.
So Maddox, Mason, and Sharpton, what wrong with them? What was wrong with us was crackers didn't choose us. I think a lot of the rhetoric, including mine, went too far. But I think that there's a difference between the rhetoric and the reason we got involved.
But at the time, that reason was questioned by one of his own associates.
They are frauds from the beginning.
Perry McKinnon, you couldn't see Sharpton without seeing Perry McKinnon in those days. And he was with him at all times. And, you know, he's a decorated war hero. He's all these other things.
This whole situation is not about Tawana Brawley. It's about Mason, Maddox, and Sharpton sort of taking over the town. Their exact words were, we beat this, we will be the biggest niggas in New York.
Let's take the outside chance McKinnon is telling the truth. And by the way, did nobody corroborated that. If I say that if I win for president when I ran, I'll be the biggest black guy in America, does that really mean that I perpetrated a lie?
As the press turned up the heat on Brawley's advisors, Ryan uncovered new clues.
That newspaper article a few seconds ago said Sharpton, champion or opportunist. What do you all think? Is he a champion or an opportunist? And remember what that associate said. Yeah. If we can get this, we'll be the biggest ends in town. Oh, Lord. See, some people just want to make a name for themselves. Don't be fooled.
The jeans she had on were burnt in the crotch, but she wasn't burnt there. The cutting in the sneaker, clearly it was done when no foot was in the sneaker.
An FBI lab agent on the case drew his attention to bits of cotton found inside the feces-smeared glove, allegedly used in the attack on Brawley.
We were having a drink, and he said to me, and the damnedest thing is we found the same thing under her fingernails. Well, I almost spit my drink out. You got burnt cotton under her fingernails, burnt cotton in the tips of the glove. There's a real good chance, she's wearing those gloves.
Next, Ryan set about discovering the source of the racial epithet found on Brawley's body.
I was burning cotton in my kitchen and wasn't getting anywhere, and the burnt cotton fibers fell into the sink. And my wife, who's always been smarter than me, leaned forward, put her finger on the burnt cotton in the water, went like this, went like that. Looks like it to me. It was the last piece of the puzzle.
Today, after 7 months, 6,000 pages of testimony, and 180 witnesses, a grand jury found beyond any doubt Tawana Brawley's story is a lie.
Those allegations are untrue. The people who made those allegations lied. Their outrageous, irresponsible acts have increased the atmosphere of tension between the races.
I think that people have to advocate what they believe in. I have friends right now that believe O.J. Simpson is guilty right now.
Okay, I'm not even going to get into the O.J. Simpson thing, but what the other gentleman said, this whole thing increased the tensions between the races. I like to say ethnic groups because I believe we're all one race. Oh, she did this to herself. Oh my goodness. And crying on camera, saying a police officer did that to herself. I hope she got some help. I hope she got some help.
Right now. And a jury said he's not. Does that mean that I think they don't have credibility? That means that I think that they have a belief that I don't share, and a jury didn't share. A grand jury did not believe Ms. Brawley. I believe there was reason to pursue this situation.
One of the real victims of this case was the family of the police officer. They suffered the loss of their son through a horrible means, and then were subjected in the press to these allegations which had nothing to do with them.
I didn't bring him in the case. Ms. Brawley did. I was speaking for Ms. Brawley. I mean, of course we wanted the aspects of what her allegation was investigated.
Pagonis was also vindicated in the report.
We accounted for virtually every moment of his time over the 4-day period and concluded he had absolutely nothing to do with it.
There's absolutely no way that this served any good social purpose. If you concoct a rape, then you undermine the credibility of women who are raped. If you concoct a rape and turn it into a race crime, then you undermine true victims of race crimes.
That's what we all need to realize, is that when we bring out things that are not true, and it says right here on the cover of this People magazine, a pack of lies. And you got Al Sharpton with his perm and how he used to look. I'm not going to pick on him. I already picked on the hair. And she came up with this. This girl she's one grown woman now, very grown, came up with this. And you undermine people who really suffer from rapes, who really suffer from certain crimes, race crimes, whatever you want to call it. Because some people out there are racist. There are some people who are, they're murderers and rapists. They are. But I mean, you're going to make something into something that did not happen and had all the world in America anyway, in an uproar. I'm talking about an absolute uproar. Marches, people yelling in each other's faces, undermining our relations between ethnic groups, all over a false narrative, a flat-out lie, a sick lie. And I'm not picking on her. No, I don't know what was going on. Maybe we'll find out in just a moment that could cause her to do this. What would cause someone to say this? Just crying for attention. Crying for attention. Maybe she was abused by someone else and she wanted help but didn't know how to get that help. And this is what her young teenage mind came up with. Mental issues are a real thing and they need to be investigated. And we need to gather the facts. Those of us in the legal field, gather the facts before we get into our emotions. We need to try and leave our emotions out and focus on facts. Focus on the facts of what actually happened. Gather that information before we start yelling and screaming and saying she was raped and the Klan did it and all of that. And it was not true. I wonder what else we've had in the media that's been shown to be one thing, but it's actually another. Are there other things that have happened, other cases, other misrepresentations that have been going out into the media flagrantly and had people upset and bringing back racial relations because they want to push a narrative? What other things have happened? What other cases have happened? I'm sure there are plenty of them.
About 6 months after the hoax was unmasked, Brawley's former boyfriend told Newsday that Tawana had invented the scheme, apparently to avoid a beating by her mother's boyfriend after running away from home. But Brawley, who now works as a nurse under another name in Virginia, has steadfastly refused to explain herself publicly.
I'm not a liar and I'm not crazy. What did I lie about? Lie about what? Grand jury to me didn't really exist. That was all a farce.
Brawley and her advisors lost a defamation suit to Pagonis in 1998. Maddox had his law license suspended due to his refusal to answer questions about his conduct during the case. And Mason lost his because of unconnected ethical lapses. Sharpton was acquitted in a series of charity-related fraud charges.
I think that we, and certainly I, going forward, learned how to be more cautious. But I also think the media has not adopted a lot of this lesson. And I think prosecutors have not adopted its lessons.
The activist himself has moved on from the hoax that has altered the lives of so many others.
Barack Obama. I told Reverend Al backstage, he's getting skinnier than me.
If we had something right or wrong, at least give us credit, at least give me credit for a life that was geared towards social justice, even if you think I was wrong on some cases. Don't act like I wasn't geared towards social justice. I have a radio show, TV show, do lectures. I make a good living. Why am I doing it now? What's my point now? Maybe I really believed in it.
But after 25 years, one fundamental question about the Brawley case still follows him.
Did a crime occur, in your view, still?
Whatever happened, you're dealing with a minor who was missing 4 days, so it's clear that something wrong happened.
He's still saying, I think something happened. Gosh, you're supposed to be a little bit bigger all these years later than being able to say, I think something happened.
Talking about Reverend Al Sharpton, I'm just going to call you Al Sharpton. I don't believe you're a real reverend. Someone said that's just an honorary title. Someone in the comments said that. And that, the whole thing, once the pieces, that's why we can't jump on something until the facts are gathered, because her being burned in that area of her body, but in her jeans, but her body wasn't burned. So excuse me, I just want to clarify. The jeans were burned, but she was not burned in that area. The shoes, the sneakers were cut up, but clearly after her foot could not have been in the sneakers. And the burned cotton was under her fingernails. And it was proven that it was all a hoax, all because of her wanting to, I believe, stay out late and didn't want to get punished. Evidently, she was suffering from being a rebellious teenager, clearly, and had a boyfriend in jail. And she was 15 with a boyfriend in jail. So we need to really examine what was really going on in her life. Hopefully she got the help that she needed. She felt the need to run away, and I might do a follow-up video to this, because we need to look at what's really going on with people. And during that time frame, there were other cases of people doing horrendous crimes and blaming them on somebody else. There was Susan Smith, who drowned her own children and blamed it on some mysterious black man. That woman had me so mad. This was in the mid-90s. That woman had me so mad when I read about that. I was like, that is so evil. So evil. You're gonna, your own kids. And I really hate that police officer got rid of himself because he was accused of that crime, and his parents had to suffer with the loss of a child over a lie. We need to think about the stuff that we do. We need to think about it, because you don't just hurt yourself or those close to you, you hurt other people. This was a lie, clearly, and that's my stand on it. Now, I don't know what happened to her. Something happened to her as far as her mental state to cause her to come up with this thing. And I believe that it was really centered around her being rebellious and not wanting to get in trouble for staying out late and being gone for a few days. And so she had to give a reason that will keep her not getting into trouble, because maybe her stepfather was very strict and she did not want to face that trouble. Instead, she made trouble for everybody else. That's my take on it. You guys tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you all so much. Visit childlightcandles.com and put the discount code LindaB. This is a Christian veteran-owned company with their candles made, everything made in the U.S. of A. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors.